Before James St. Patrick became Ghost, he was just a smart kid growing up in a world that did not forgive weakness. Power Origins Season 1 takes us back to a time when his future was not written yet. This is where the new characters matter the most. They are not random additions. Each one steps into Ghost's life at a moment when he is still learning who he is. Some offer guidance, some bring danger, and some quietly push him toward the darkness without him realizing it. These early relationships help explain why Ghost always struggled between wanting a clean life and needing control. The streets did not shape him alone. People did. What makes these new characters powerful is how real they feel. They are not heroes or villains. They are survivors. Some are hungry for respect. Some are afraid of being forgotten. Others are already broken by the system around them. Young Ghost watches all of this closely. He learns fast. He learns who gets listened to and who gets buried. Every conversation, every warning, and every betrayal plants a seed in his mind. You can see Ghost slowly understanding that intelligence alone is not enough. In this world, power decides everything. One of the strongest ideas in Power Origins is that Ghost always had choices. But those choices came with pressure. New characters constantly remind him that staying clean comes with limits. They show him that dreaming big can make you a target, even when Ghost tries to stay focused on school or a better future. The people around him pull him back into reality, not because they hate him, but because this is the only life they know. And that is how Ghost starts learning the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes love and loyalty can still drag you down. By introducing these characters early, the show makes Ghost's future feel tragic instead of shocking. You begin to understand that his rise was never just ambition. It was survival mixed with fear, pride, and influence. Every new phase in his story leaves a mark. Some marks give him strength. Others leave scars he will carry forever. This is the foundation of Ghost's story, and it all begins here. As Power Origins Season 1 continues, the new characters around Ghost start to show their real purpose. They are not there to support his dreams. They are there to test them. Some characters believe in Ghost's intelligence and push him to think bigger than the streets. Others see his potential as a threat. This is where Ghost begins to learn that being smart can make people uncomfortable. When others feel small, they look for ways to control or destroy what they do not understand. These characters often come from different corners of the same world. Some grew up fighting every day just to survive. Others learned early that fear is a tool. Ghost watches how respect is earned, not through kindness, but through presence. He sees who speaks and who stays silent. He notices who survives mistakes and who disappears after one wrong move. These moments slowly change how he thinks. Ghost starts planning instead of reacting. He begins to hide his emotions because he sees what emotions cost people around him. One important thing the show does well is showing how influence works quietly. No one sits Ghost down and tells him to become ruthless. Instead, he watches people lose everything by trusting the wrong person. He sees loyalty tested again and again. New characters fail him in small ways first. A broken promise, a delayed warning, a selfish decision. These moments teach Ghost that trust must be controlled. That lesson stays with him into adulthood and explains why he keeps everyone at a distance later in Power. At the same time, Ghost is still young enough to care deeply. That is what makes these moments painful. He wants to believe people can be better. He wants to believe there is a way out. But every new character seems to represent a warning about the future. They show him what happens when dreams die, and without realizing it, Ghost starts building emotional walls. Not because he wants to be cold, but because the world around him keeps proving that being open is dangerous. The new characters in Power Origins also reveal something important about Ghost's inner struggle. Even early on, he is split between two versions of himself. One version wants order, structure, and control. The other wants freedom and a life far away from the streets. The people around him force these sides to clash. Some characters push him toward ambition, telling him he deserves more than what he has. Others remind him that reaching for more can get you killed. Ghost starts to notice patterns. He sees how people who aim to high are pulled back down. He also sees how people who accept less are trapped forever. This is where Ghost's mindset begins to change. He no longer wants to escape the game. He wants to master it. New characters introduce him to the idea that power does not just protect you. It defines you. Once you have it, people treat you differently. Once you lose it, you are nothing. These lessons are not taught with speeches. They come through loss. A character disappears. Another one turns cold. Someone Ghost trusted chooses survival over loyalty. Each event pushes him further away from innocence. He learns to calculate outcomes. He starts thinking 3 steps ahead. This is the birth of the strategist we later see in Power. The show makes it clear that Ghost did not become this way overnight. He was trained by experience. What hurts the most is that Ghost still believes he can control the damage. He thinks he can walk the line without crossing it fully. The new characters make him believe that balance is possible. But the audience can already see the truth. Every decision pulls him deeper. Every lesson learned costs him a piece of himself. By the time Ghost realizes what he is becoming, it may already be too late. By the end of this part of Power Origins Season 1, the role of the new characters becomes clear. They are mirrors. Each one reflects a possible future for Ghost. Some show him what happens when you chase power without limits. Others show him what happens when you refuse to fight back. Ghost studies them all. He learns what to copy and what to avoid. But the problem is, every path comes with loss. The show carefully connects these early relationships to the man Ghost becomes later. His need for control, his fear of betrayal, his refusal to fully trust anyone. These traits are not random. They are built through years of pressure and disappointment. New characters help explain why Ghost believes that love is weakness and loyalty is temporary. They show him again and again that people change when power is involved. What makes this story powerful is that Ghost never stops wanting more. Not just money or respect, but freedom. He wants a life where he does not have to look over his shoulder. But the new characters make it clear that freedom has a price, and most people pay it with their soul. Ghost thinks he can beat the system. That belief becomes both his strength and his curse. This section of the story leaves us with a painful understanding. Ghost was not shaped by one moment or one betrayal. He was shaped by many people, many choices, and many silent lessons. Power Origins does not excuse Ghost's future actions, but it explains them. And once you see the people who helped create him, you realize the truth. Ghost's story was never about becoming powerful. It was about surviving a world that never gave him a real chance. As time moves forward, the new characters begin to change. Ghost in deeper ways. He no longer looks at the world with simple hope. Every day brings a new lesson, and most of those lessons are painful. The people around him are fighting their own battles, and Ghost slowly understands that everyone is desperate in their own way. Some want respect, some want money, some only want to survive another day. These different needs clash, and Ghost is often caught in the middle. He starts learning that silence can be safer than honesty, and distance can be stronger than closeness. One of the biggest changes in Ghost happens when he sees how fast loyalty can fade. A friend can become a rival overnight. A trusted voice can turn into a warning sign. New characters show him that fear controls more than love ever could. He watches people betray each other for safety, power, or simple revenge. These moments stay in his mind. He begins to measure every word he speaks and every move he makes. Trust becomes something he gives slowly, if at all. This is the start of the emotional armor that later defines him. The streets also teach Ghost about image. New characters explain, without words, That perception is everything. If people think you are weak, they treat you like prey. If they think you are strong, they treat you with care. Ghost learns to hide his doubts and wear confidence, even when he feels unsure inside. He studies how others walk, talk, and command attention. Slowly, he begins to change his own behavior. His posture becomes firmer. His tone becomes calmer. His eyes begin to watch everything. This is how Ghost starts building the presence that later makes people fear him. At the same time, Ghost feels the pressure of responsibility. Some of the new characters depend on him in quiet ways. They look to him for direction, advice, or protection. This forces him to grow up fast. Childhood slips away as survival becomes the main focus. Every decision now carries weight. If he makes the wrong choice, someone could get hurt. Conflict becomes part of his daily life. Arguments turn into threats. Threats turn into violence. Ghost watches how easily chaos spreads and how quickly peace disappears. New characters introduce him to different sides of this world, some darker than he ever imagined. He sees how small problems grow into deadly wars. He understands that once a line is crossed, there is no return. These experiences carve deep lines into his personality. He becomes calm in danger and distant in comfort. Despite all this, a part of Ghost still hopes for something better. He dreams of escape, of a life where fear does not follow him. But every new character seems to pull him back into reality. They remind him that dreams without power are fragile. Slowly, he begins to accept that control is the only way to protect what he loves. This belief becomes a turning point. It shapes his future actions and explains why he later chooses domination over peace. By the end of this stage, Ghost is no longer just reacting to the world. He is learning to shape it. The influence of new characters has turned him into a thinker, a planner, and a silent leader. His emotions are still there, but they are buried under caution and strategy. This is the version of Ghost that begins to feel familiar. The foundation of his future empire is being built, one hard lesson at a time. As Ghost grows deeper into this world, the new characters begin to affect him in ways he cannot control anymore. These people are no longer just influences in his life. They become turning points. Every interaction forces him to face parts of himself he did not know existed. He starts realizing that power is not only about strength or fear, but about understanding people. Some of the new characters know how to read emotions, and Ghost quietly learns from them. He watches how a few words can change a room, how silence can make others uncomfortable, and how patience can be more dangerous than anger. This is also the stage where Ghost begins to lose pieces of his innocence. New characters pull him into situations where there is no right choice, only the least damaging one. He is forced to decide who matters and who does not. These moments stay with him. He begins to understand that hesitation can be fatal. Acting fast, even when it feels wrong, often keeps him alive. Over time, this way of thinking becomes natural. His instincts sharpen, and his emotions fall further into the background. Trust continues to break around him. Some characters reveal their true intentions too late. Others hide behind loyalty until the moment it benefits them to walk away. Ghost learns that people rarely show their real faces at the beginning. This makes him cautious in every relationship. He listens more. Then he speaks. He tests people before believing them. This behavior later becomes one of his strongest traits. He is not easily fooled because he has already been fooled too many times. Pressure also comes from expectations. New characters begin to look at Ghost differently. They see him as someone who can lead, solve problems, and make hard calls. This attention feeds his confidence but also traps him. Once people believe in you, failure is no longer private. Ghost feels the weight of these expectations daily. He cannot afford to be weak or uncertain. Even when he feels lost, he must appear in control. This is where his double life begins to form, one face for the world and one for himself. The cost of this life becomes clearer as relationships start. to suffer. Ghost distances himself from anyone who reminds him of who he used to be. The new characters understand this world too well, and that makes them safer to keep close. Familiarity with danger becomes comfort. Normal life begins to feel unreal. Ghost slowly accepts that he belongs more in chaos than peace. This realization is quiet but powerful, and it pushes him further down a path he may never escape. Violence is no longer shocking to him at this stage. It becomes a language people use when words fail. New characters show him how violence can be controlled, planned, and used as a message. Ghost does not enjoy it, but he understands it. He learns that fear can protect just as much as it can destroy. This lesson follows him into adulthood and explains why he often chooses force. When negotiation fails by this point, Ghost is no longer becoming someone new. He is shedding who he used to be. The influence of the new characters has shaped his thinking, hardened his emotions, and sharpened his mind. He still believes he can control his fate, but the path is narrowing. Every choice locks him further into this identity. Power Origins makes it clear that Ghost's transformation is not sudden. It is slow, painful, and built on years of pressure, loss, and difficult decisions by this stage of Ghost's journey. The new characters are no longer shaping him from the outside. They are shaping him from within. Their words, actions, and betrayals live in his mind even when they are not around. Ghost begins to think like the people who once controlled situations around him. He plans ahead, predicts reactions, and prepares for outcomes before they happen. This mental shift is one of the most important changes in his life. He is no longer surviving moment to moment. He is building a future, even if that future is dangerous. Ghost starts to understand that power is not loud. The new characters teach him that the quiet ones often hold the most control. He watches how certain people never raise their voices yet still get what they want. He studies how fear can exist without violence, how reputation alone can move people. These lessons push Ghost to refine his approach. He stops acting on emotion and starts acting with purpose. Every move has a reason. Every risk is measured. This calm, controlled version of Ghost begins to take shape here. The idea of sacrifice becomes clearer during this phase. New characters lose things that matter to them, and Ghost learns that nothing comes without cost. He watches friendships end, families break, and lives fall apart in pursuit of power or protection. These moments force him to accept a harsh truth. If he wants to rise, he will have to let go of parts of himself. Dreams become smaller. Feelings become buried. What matters now is control and survival. This understanding hardens him more than any fight ever could. Ghost also begins to separate emotion from decision-making. When conflict rises, he no longer reacts with anger or fear. He steps back and observes. New characters show him that the person who stays calm usually wins. This mindset becomes a weapon. Others underestimate him because he appears quiet and thoughtful. They do not see the planning happening behind his eyes. This ability to stay composed under pressure becomes one of his greatest strengths later in life. At the same time, loneliness starts to grow. As Ghost becomes more strategic, fewer people truly understand him. The new characters closest to him are connected by ambition, not trust. Conversations become guarded. Laughter feels forced. Even victories feel empty. Ghost begins to realize that power isolates you. The higher you climb, the fewer people stand beside you. This realization does not stop him, but it changes how he views relationships. People become pieces on a board rather than sources of comfort. Danger is now constant, but Ghost accepts it as normal. He knows threats will always exist, so he focuses on staying ahead of them. New characters test his limits, forcing him to make decisions that affect many lives. Each decision strengthens his confidence but weakens his humanity. He tells himself it is necessary. He believes control will bring safety. This belief drives him forward, even as it slowly traps him. By The end of this phase, Ghost is almost unrecognizable from the boy he once was. The influence of the new characters has completed its work. He has learned how to lead, how to manipulate, and how to survive at the highest level. Power Origins shows that Ghost's rise is not glamorous. It is lonely, heavy, and built on constant pressure. These moments explain why Ghost later chooses power over peace and control over freedom. His story is no longer about who he wanted to be, but about who he had to become. At this point in Ghost's story, the weight of everything he has learned begins to settle on him. The new characters are no longer just lessons from the past. They become reminders of the cost of every choice he has made. Ghost starts to carry himself differently. There is confidence in his movements, but also caution. He has seen too much to believe in luck or chance. Everything in his mind now comes down to planning and control. This mindset does not bring him peace, but it gives him direction. Ghost becomes more selective about who he allows near him. The new characters around him understand power, but that does not mean they understand loyalty. He watches people carefully, always looking for signs of weakness or selfish intent. Trust is no longer given freely. It must be earned and constantly proven. This constant awareness keeps him safe, but it also keeps him isolated. Relationships feel more like negotiations than bonds, and Ghost accepts this as part of his reality. The idea of legacy begins to form during this stage. Ghost starts thinking beyond survival. He wants to build something that cannot be taken from him easily. New characters push this idea in different ways. Some encourage him to expand, to think bigger, and take more risks. Others warn him about moving too fast. Ghost listens to all of them, but follows his own instincts. He believes that staying still is the same as falling behind. This belief pushes him to make bold decisions. Even when the danger is clear, loss becomes a constant presence. Some of the new characters fade away, either by choice or by force. Others change, becoming harder, colder versions of themselves. Ghost feels these losses,